Hi, I'm Bree Johnson of Heart and Bones Yoga, and today's tutorial is all about building strength and stability and structural support for your plank poses, and not just plank but side plank as well, because it can be pretty common for people to report back that they feel pain in the shoulder when they do a plank or when they do a side plank. So in this tutorial, we're going to deconstruct a lot of our movements. We're going to deconstruct plank pose to understand better your anatomy, your amazing body, so that you know what you can do to create sustainability in your muscles and bones. So first thing that we're going to do is look at what your shoulder blades are doing in your plank. And for most people, the shoulder blades tend to collapse together. So they go into this retracted position. I'm going to turn around and I'm going to show you what I mean by retracted. And then the opposite movement of that is protracted. So turning around here, I am going to just fix my mic. There we go. So if you look at my shoulders here, and I'm going to do this retracted position. Retracted is when I bring my shoulder blades together. Protracted is when they're apart. Retracted together, protracted apart. Now let's take that onto our hands and knees into a tabletop position. Now on your hands and knees, hands underneath your shoulders, and then go into the retracted, shoulder blades together, and then protracted, shoulder blades wide. Let's move through that a couple times. And this is actually a great movement called the Rhomboid Push Up. So if this is new to you, I highly recommend doing it more often. It's such a fabulous way to get your shoulder blades moving again, because many of us are quite tight in our upper back. Okay, so you've protracted, retracted a few times. Now we're going to pay attention to what the upper arms are doing. Now, most of us, and you might have actually heard this cue before in yoga or other movement practices, where they say to bring your elbow pits to face each other. Now, when your elbow pits face each other with the hands on the floor, right? So my elbow pits are going to look at each other. If you could see below your skin into the positioning of your upper arm bone, your humerus, you would see that that humerus is actually in more of an internally rotated position. And now, and that in of itself is not necessarily a bad thing, but because most of us have a habit of living in an relatively internally rotated position because of tight pecs, because of postural habits, whatever that may be, it's actually going to be quite beneficial to try a different angle, which would be moving into external rotation. So from your hands and knees now together, we'll do this, where have your elbow pits look at each other and then move them away from each other. So when you're looking down at your arms, you're seeing the elbow pit, right where you bend your elbow, rotating. Your hands stay on the floor. They don't go anywhere, which means this movement is actually coming from your humerus, your upper arm bones, externally and internally rotating. One thing you always want to watch if you have hypermobile elbows like I do, so if you can see that hypermobile elbow poking right out, when I go into external rotation, I can really overdo that. So I'm going to keep my elbows a little bit bent so that on the surface they look like they're straight. And then internal and external. Okay, from there, we're going to keep the externally rotated position. This puts your upper arm more in a neutral position. And so from there, maintain, so your hands are shoulder width apart, you're going to maintain that external rotation. And then let's go back into the Rhomboid Push Up a few times. So can you do this Rhomboid Push Up where your shoulder blades are coming together, moving apart, but not allowing your arms to move? So you're keeping your arms in this externally rotated position. All of a sudden, you might find that everything became a little bit more challenging, which if that's the case, awesome, because what that means is that we're actually waking up new parts of the arms and shoulders. So this in of itself, if you did nothing else, if you didn't worry about plank or anything, and this is what you did, then you're amazing, and you're actually getting a whole bunch of great benefits. So feel free to stop here if you want, but we're going to continue this into our plank now. Typically, I'm going to show us a before and after. So typically what I've seen over the years teaching people different plank moves is that our default position ends up being the shoulder blades dropping together. So instead, and when our shoulder blades drop together, when we bear weight on our arms, that's a really unsustainable way of holding yourself up. because that dropping and that retraction of your shoulder blades puts extra effort and extra work deep into the glenohumeral joint. This is your shoulder joint here. And it takes away from the work that you have, or the potential and possibility of strength that you have from some of your larger muscles, like your lats, serratus anterior, pecs. This whole shoulder complex wants to be strong and supportive, and we lose that support when we let the shoulder blades retract. So let's do this again, thinking about keeping all that in mind. So I'm going to, again, have my hands shoulder width apart. I'm going to externally rotate my elbow pit so that they're forward without going into that hypermobility in the elbows. And then I'm going to invite my shoulder blades wide. Keep in mind that it's not wide, wide, wide like this, nor is it fully retracted, but somewhere in between. Sometimes it's helpful actually if you even feel like you're pushing the floor away from you with your hands to see if you can get a little bit more wide. Now with my shoulder blades wide and I'm in that external rotated position, all of a sudden I start to feel the beautiful strong muscles surrounding my shoulder joints hold me up, which is what we want. Now can you maintain that? So I'm going to move forward just a little bit. Can you maintain all of that feeling of awakeness in your back, chest, shoulders, and then stretch one leg back, bring your other leg back, and then hold. So this is what we're doing. We're holding while keeping your arms in that externally rotated position, shoulder blades wide, and allowing those beautiful strong muscles of your back to hold you up. So that's plank. That's a really quick, simple fix to think about from your plank. It may feel easier to dump and drop into the shoulder blades, but it's going to be more supportive over the long term to get that space and width and wrapping of all of your beautiful muscles surrounding your chest and shoulders. But let's bring that into a side plank now, because side plank is really an easy place to dump into the shoulder. Because if let's say I'm just sitting outside enjoying the day and I want to prop myself up, there's not a lot of muscular effort that I'm doing here. I'm jamming into my elbow, I'm dropping into my shoulder, and there's a lot of sinking, and it can get into the ligaments of your shoulder joint here, and your ligaments aren't really there to hold you up. What wants to hold you up, as we've been talking about, are those beautiful muscles surrounding your shoulders. So let's place one hand to the floor, and then even just in this seated position like so, let's do a little before and after. So just drop down and then press your hand into the floor and then extend up and out. I'm going to drop down and then I'm going to press my hand into the floor like I'm pushing the floor away from me. And then let's hold that and externally rotate the arm. Now, if you're doing this along with me, you're probably going to notice now that again, the pecs, the lats, all of these muscles surrounding your shoulder are holding you up. Just hold like that for a moment and then release. I'm going to show that from the back here so you can see the difference in my shoulders. So I'll go on this side. Now, here we go. So I'm going to go, here's dropping into the shoulders and then pushing my hand into the floor, stretching up out of it. I'm sure you'll be able to see how the muscles kick right on. So it's kind of lazy, not a lot of muscle action. And then muscles getting turned on, awake, externally rotated. And now they're ready. These muscles here are ready to hold me upright as I come up into a plank. So let's try that in more of a side plank. First variation is the one that we just did. So that's option one if you don't want to bear any more weight on your shoulders than what we just did. So option one is just, like I said, sitting like this, hand down, externally rotate, lifting, voila, easy peasy. Next piece of the pie, you can actually, or piece of the puzzle, you can actually do this. So your knees will be stacked on top of each other. Keep working on that external rotation, holding that weight, and then lifting like so. Does it look like a side plank? No. Does it matter? No, because this might be a little bit more of an accessible way for you to start to bear weight on one arm. So from here, keep externally rotating and getting that sense that you're lifting out of your shoulder joint, kicking on all these muscles there. Okay, now option two would make it have the legs extended. So I'm going to stack my legs on top of each other. Actually, let's even throw another option. You can bring your top leg, bring it onto the floor like so. Now, before you even come up, let's get the shoulder working. So I'm dumping into my shoulder. I'm going to undump out of my shoulder. I'm going to externally rotate, pressing the top foot into the floor, and then I lift. Now I'm going to have the help of my bottom foot to help me lift. I have the help of my hips to lift, my core, my obliques, and extending out. And then if you want to bring your top arm up, you can do that, or keep the hand here. So that might feel great. Option number 2 would be then to stack both of your feet. Do this option if you can maintain that sense of awakening into the shoulder joint, and then you can have fun from there. I'm going to turn around one more time so you can see this from the back. So here we are, dumping into my shoulder blade. So this might be the cause of some of our shoulder pain if we experience that in plank, because I'm just hanging. My shoulder blade, these muscles aren't that active. I'm going to activate the muscles, moving my shoulder blade away from my spine, pressing into the floor, externally rotating, and then bring my top arm up if I want. So boom to that. There we go. So to really quickly recap, the main thing is put your bones in a good position so that the muscles can do the work of holding them up. So in this case, the bones meaning your upper arm bone, humerus, externally rotating. When you do that external rotation, that's going to wake up pecs, lats, serratus, all the beautiful muscles here. On top of that, then your other bones are your scapula, your shoulder blades, and the shoulder blades not coming towards the spine. They're protracting, moving away from your spine. So again, having them away from that spine just kicks the muscles on, and you'll notice it right away. So if this becomes way harder of a plank than you've ever done in your life before, you're probably doing it right, because now we're asking the muscles that need to work to hold us up. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe. I'm always putting up new weekly tutorials, usually at Sunday, Monday. I have them up here if you're watching this on YouTube, and I hope that helps. And remember, send me questions, like I said, and I can't wait to see you again. Bye.